Okay, so this is a guide on how to deploy Chrome so you can use it at your school or wherever, and also be able to manage it for your users. So we're a Google Apps for Education school, and I've been asked quite a bit by other schools about how to deploy and manage Chrome. So I thought I'd just do this very brief guide on how to do it. It's really straightforward, and if you're using Google Apps for Education, or really I guess anything else, Chrome's a far better option than sticking with the regular Internet Explorer if that's what you've got. And recently Google stopped supporting for Internet Explorer 9, so if you're still on Internet Explorer 9 and you're planning to use Google Apps for Education, go with Chrome. It's really easy. So I'll just go through the steps of how to make it available and manage it for your users. First of all, you need to deploy it to your machines. This is no different from deploying any other piece of software. So if you just search for Chrome MSI, you'll end up at this website here, which is the business side of Chrome. So rather than the normal way you'd install Chrome, you just download the Chrome MSI and then accept and install, and what it will do is download the MSI installer rather than straight away installing it on your computer. So that will be the first thing to do, is to download that. So I'm on a local browser here. If I just pop onto this domain controller here, what you'll need to do is put that MSI file into a network share. I've got one called IT support here, and in IT support I've got a folder called software, and this is a network share, and it needs to be shared so other computers will be able to see this, otherwise it won't work. So I'll go into applications, and I've got a folder called Chrome MSI, and the one that we downloaded here, Google Chrome Standard Enterprise MSI, is what you'll want. There's a couple of other files there which you'll also need to use, and one of them is the Chrome ADM file, which is an administrative template, and this one is optional, but I use it, called the Google Update ADM. So these are files that allow you to manage the Chrome user experience. So I'll just show you where you get those files from. If you Google Chrome ADM file, what you'll get is the Chromium projects. Now you can manage Chrome policies from within the Google Apps Management Console, but that will only work if the user is actually signed into Chrome. So if they're using a PC, unless you've got single sign-on set up, those policies will be ignored unless the person actively logs into Chrome. And they don't need to do that, of course. Whereas this policy will take effect at the point at which the user logs in, and there's some very powerful things you can do. But chromium.org administrator policy-templates is where you need to be, and you can download the ADM template here. You'll find that there are a number of different languages, in fact lots of different languages. You need to choose the one that is appropriate to you. So I've got the English one here. So you need to download these files, and that is step one. Step two, and put the Chrome MSI into a network share that your computers can access. The next thing is to configure some policies. Now I've got lots of policies already pre-configured, so what I'm going to do is create two test policies from scratch. In fact, I'm going to just show you the Chrome deployment one, and these are all my group policies. I think it's on the Google Chrome last time I looked. There we go, Google Chrome. So this is the group policy that deploys Chrome to a computer. So this is a policy that needs to be deployed to an organizational unit that's got computers in it. So if we edit that group policy, So we go into Computer Configuration, Software Settings, Software Installation, and you'll find that we've got Google Chrome here, and it's signed, and you can see there's a network share here, and this needs to be a unique network share rather than, say, an absolute drive, say on C drive or the F drive or whatever it might be. Okay, so when you create new package, what you'll need to do is browse. It's gone to sleep. What you'll need to do is browse to that network share, and on here, rather than starting with I, it'll need to start with the network share. Mine is Osh software. Okay, and then you can assign that group policy, and then next time your computers restart, they'll install Google Chrome. So that gets you Google Chrome, but how do you manage it? Okay, so we'll do this from scratch. I'll just create a test policy. So you could either create this by right-clicking on a existing organizational unit. So I could, for example, click on Students here, right-click, create a group policy in this domain and link it here. I've already got a Chrome policy, I don't really want to do that, so I'm just going to create one in Group Policy Objects. I'm going to create a new policy, and I'm going to call it, Test Chrome Test Chrome patch, wherever, doesn't matter. Okay, and that will create a blank group policy. There it is. Okay, so let's edit that group policy. Let's just minimize all that so it's out of the way, maximize that so we can see what we're doing. And this is where you have to add that administrative template that we were playing around with, I showed you earlier. So we go into, you can do this either via computer or user. So you can apply these policies to either a computer or you can apply them to users. I apply them to users so I can give different users like staff and students different Chrome experiences. So if I click on admin templates here, at the moment there's nothing to control Chrome. So what I've got to do is click on admin templates, right click, add remove template. Now I'm going to click on add, and at this point I get to browse for an admin template, which I've got in IT support. I think the latest version I've got is actually in this folder called Chrome Admin Templates. Yeah, there it is. This one is 27th of October, which I think is the latest version. It's come a long way from the first version of this. A lot more policies you can now configure. And this folder here has actually got all the different languages and things in it. Anyways, I'll select that, Chrome Admin Template, open. Okay, and that's it. Click on close. Wait a moment, and then you'll see that here we've now got classic administrative templates, and this is where the Chrome stuff will be. So you'll see that now is a Google option there. So there's a lot of stuff in this default settings, but what we want to do is configure what's in this one here, and you'll see there's a whole swathe of policies that you can configure, which will do all sorts of complicated things. What I'm going to show you is a few of the ones that I use. So let's start with proxy server. So this will determine how Chrome will connect to the internet. So I've double click on that and just double click on this one. There we go. Currently not configured. So choose how to specify a proxy server settings. Now this may or may not be relevant to you. If you directly connect to the internet, you've got a transparent gateway, you don't need to configure any of this. But if you don't have a transparent gateway or you want it to point it to a particular gateway, then you would click on enable there, and then you've got some options. Auto detect proxy settings, never use a proxy, use a PAX proxy script if that's what you do, use a fixed proxy server, or use system proxy settings. So that system proxy setting will pull off whatever settings Internet Explorer has, which is the default action of Chrome if you were to install it on a PC anyways. So if you're already deploying proxy settings to IE and you want them to be the same, that option will do the job nicely. If you want a fixed proxy server, you'd go for that. Next setting, address or URL of that proxy server, so you'd click on enable and you would type in the URL of your proxy server there. I'm not going to bother doing this, is only a test policy, I'm not going to worry about it. If you're using a proxy pack file, this is where you'd set it. And proxy bypass rules. So in Internet Explorer, of course, you can set a whole list of things that bypass that proxy that you've set and go to directly to probably a local address. So unlike Internet Explorer, this I've never got to support wildcards, so you would either type in the DNS name of local servers, for example, they will be a couple of hours, or you could type in an IP address, except of course you'd use comments there. Okay, so just to carry on, slight interruption there, never mind. So you type in an IP address of anything you want to bypass there and click on OK. So we configured those ones. So we've got it connected to the internet. So that's a proxies. Other nice things you configure, homepage. That's not the one I was going to configure actually. This doesn't do quite what you'd expect it to do. So the home page on Google Chrome is normally a thing that comes up with 8 little, that's the home page. Okay, and you probably want to keep that because it's quite a useful thing. It's the page to launch at startup, which is interesting. So startup page is here, action on startup. So I've got this policy enabled, action on startup, open a list of URLs, and then I'll click on next setting, and then if I click on enable here, it allows you to specify a list of URLs. And for students, we just start on the school portal, which is that. Let's copy that and paste it in like so. And you can open multiple tabs when a user starts up, not just the one, but we just do that. And we've got a different one for staff. So we've got 2 policies, one for staff, one for students. Okay, so that's startup. Let's go back to the whole list of them. You can specify how the password manager works. But the really interesting stuff is in this way the policy see. You can set the default search provider to a particular region if you want. If you didn't want it to be Google, you could set it to something else. I've set it to google.co.uk. Okay, so in here, enable the default search provider. So if we enable that, we'll need to enable that for any of these other policies to take any effect. Next setting specifies the name of the default search provider. If left empty or not set, the host name specified by the search URL will be used. Okay, so we click on here, and default search name for us is not that, .co.uk, and then you can keep on going, setting up your default search providers. You might not necessarily have to set it up. If you just want it to be Google and no particular region, then you don't need to set anything up. If you want it to be google.co.uk like we've got, then that's what you'd use. So if we just whiz through some of these other policies here, there's all sorts of things, allowing plugins that are outdated. It's up to you really. Allow or deny audio capture, and there's a policies in here to automatically authenticate certain applications. So for example, you're using MoveNote or YouTube and you don't want the little bar saying allow the video camera or the microphone every time a user does it. You can automatically authenticate those. Okay, URLs which will be granted access to an audio device without having to be bugged for it. So you can set it there. If you want everybody to be able to record to YouTube without it having to say this is allowed every time, you can do that. Enable autofill, you might or might not want. Enable the bookmark bar is one that I have enabled, which means the bookmark bar is there by default and people can then see that you can drag and drop things onto your bookmark bar. That is the bookmark bar if you don't know what the bookmark bar is. Enable Google Cloud Print. Set Chrome as the default browser is one that I use. I'm just looking for a few. Yeah, okay. Disable proceeding from safe browsing warning page is one I have enabled. So you sometimes get on a dodgy website, do you really want to go there? And this prevents you from progressing to that. Useful safety thing. You can disable certain plugins if you don't want them using it. You can set the diskcast directory if you want it somewhere other than the default. You can set the download directory if you want it something other than the Windows default. Force safe search is a really good one. I always have that applied. Import bookmarks from a default browser first log. So if you've got some bookmarks set to Internet Explorer, then you can automatically import them if you want to. So you can import a load of stuff here if you want to. Incognito mode availability. You might not want users to be able to use incognito mode and hide their tracks from you. Oh, yep, sorry, got to set it there. Incognito mode disabled. Okay, we'll go for incognito mode disabled. Go down a bit. Enable printing. You can turn printing on and off. Enable safe browsing. That's the other one I was looking for. So we'll have safe browsing. Show home button on the toolbar. Annoys me when the home button's not there, so I always enable that. Allow sign into Chrome is pretty much essential if you're not using single sign-on. And these are two really important policies, I think. This is website blocking. So block access to a list of URLs. So if you enable that, click on that, you can block websites. And this is kind of handy because of course you can create different policies for different user groups, and therefore you can have differential web filtering, and it doesn't cost you anything. Unlike some of these really expensive and complicated web filtering services, you can do this. Okay, so that one there, block access to a list of URLs, really handy. You can allow or deny video capture, and so on. So there are a load of policies there that you can configure, and if that group policy was applied to a group of users, they'd get that as soon as they log in. So just to, that policy is not going to be applied to anything. If I just log off this, and if I show you what that looks like, so this is my desktop. If I click on Chrome, so this is Chrome with some of those policies applied. So you'll see that it opens up the staff home page. I've got the bookmark bar there. I've got the home button selected there. I can sign into Chrome. I've disabled incognito mode. And if you were to go into settings, you'll find that there are a number of things that are set by the administrator. And if I type in something rude, it'll say explicit results filtered with safe search. Okay, so you'll get pretty harmless things before your web filtering even starts to kick in. Luckily that one didn't bring up anything naughty. It didn't. Good, it shouldn't. But it will get you that, and if you try and turn off safe search, you won't get anywhere. So, anyways, that is all there is to it. Okay, I suppose that's 20 minutes.